Golf clap?
Yeah.
This is your best golf clap. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brett Tippie podcast. I'm Brett Tippie, and I'm here with the one and only Miranda Miller from Squamish. She's one of our fastest Canadian downhills for a long time. She races EWS. She was the 2017 Downhill World Champion, and an awesome lady. And she's here in the Brett Tippie podcast studios. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. You just went for a shred?
I did, yeah.
On the shore?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like January always kind of teases us a little bit, you know? It's like, you're like, oh, winter. And then it's super nice for maybe 2 weeks. And you're like, oh, it's spring.
Yeah. Then it's like, just kidding.
Yeah, and that's where we are. We're in the spring part of January.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Springuary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was just up in Squamish. I went to Whistler yesterday, and there's snow. And right down here, it's just fully green, like this table.
Exactly, like this table, yeah.
But real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who'd you go for a shred with?
I was riding with Remy, Jesse, Dane Paris,
Yep.
and we ran into Kevin Calhoun.
Dane Paris, were you shooting photos?
No, I think he had his camera because we didn't really plan on meeting, but then him and Jesse were in the parking lot, and so we just ended up riding together.
Nice. Yeah. And where'd you go? What'd you ride? Seymour?
You know, yeah, Seymour, yeah.
Yeah, Lower Seymour. Good.
Yeah, some new trails I'd never ridden.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Can you tell us? Here, no.
No.
No name face.
No, you know.
Yeah, here we go.
Strava.
Breaking up.
I'll tell you, but then we just need to like bleep it out after.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
We wrote beep, and then it led into beep. We turn off at the doot beep beep beep. Yeah.
Everyone probably knows.
Yeah, probably. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And you ski too?
A little bit, yeah. I grew up skiing, like all through high school and stuff, and then last year was the first year I kind of got back into it after probably like, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Nice.
I don't love it, but you know, I get out there.
You like it?
Yeah. Well, like is a strong word. No, I like in high school when I skied, it was like you and your buddies are going to the terrain park and like, you know, just goofing off. Like, I'm not actually a very good skier, you know, like I didn't really do ski school or anything. And so now I just go skiing with everyone that's like really good. And I'm like, and
you're used to being really good.
Just like, this is hard.
Yeah.
So my goal for this year is just to ski resort more. Because last year when we were going ski touring, I was like, this is just exercise. You know, like you're just walking and then you get like 3 turns. And for like those people, they're 3 sick turns. But for me, I'm just like, like trying to get down.
Yeah, right.
And then I was like, well, we got to go like just back up. Like, you know, so like the reward wasn't really paying off.
Yeah, we have to do that again for 3 average
exactly.
turns.
I'm like flip-flopping between like hypothermia and being like way too hot. And so this year I just want to ski resort, so I got an edge card, and just so I can get better at skiing. And then when I do go touring, it's like way more enjoyable because it's like a better balance. You know?
You can rip it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it looks amazing. You know, you get to access so many cool spots. But I'm just not a strong enough skier that it's like super fun.
And you're used to being rad. Like you're rad on your bike, and so like you're one of like the badass people, and you're cool, and all of a sudden you got to take it back a notch, and you're kind of like, oh.
I kind of like it. I'm okay with being bad at things, you know. I'm probably
learning something new.
Yeah, I'm bad at a lot of things. I'm only good at, you know, maybe a couple things.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely good on a
so
bike.
it's not that new to be bad at something. You know,
you're not as good as you once were, but once you're as good as you ever were.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which, no matter how good you are, is always true. That's a deep one.
Yeah.
So you're from Pemberton originally, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
You live in Squamish, but you're from Pemberton.
Well, yeah. So I lived in Pemberton until I was 12, and then my family moved to Squamish. So.
Okay. The
seat of Sky. So I kind of grew up sort of both. I think I really liked living in Pemberton up until that sort of age, because it is a pretty small town. But you know, we had like 30 acres, and it was awesome. And then
30 acres.
Yeah, like actually, I think it's where like the Cruz brothers like I lived in the house like next to the Cruz brothers live. Lucas Obviously, they weren't there then, but
Tegan.
Yeah. So
yeah, Tegan actually had an amazing race last year where he was at the Stevie Smith Memorial, and he beat all the pros.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just by a little bit, but he did.
He's got that the younger brother thing, you know.
Yeah, the special power.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it kicks in.
Yeah. When he's got an older brother to chase.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like Finn and Jack and
right. Yeah. And the older brother sets the way, and then
sets
the younger
a good
brother
example
comes in and learns what they have learned and then take it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you remember your first bike when you were a little girl in Pemberton?
Hell yeah. I remember I got this like hardware store bike for $99. And I remember being like, oh my God, like it's so much money. And like keeping it inside and like, yeah, just loving it. But in Pemberton, there's the bike co was there, but it was like really, really small. And my dad worked in Squamish. And so he would always like tell me about this bike shop, like Corsa cycles and like how big it was and stuff. And he'd bring me home catalogs with like all the prices like next to these bikes. There's like a Norco catalog. And so I bought my first like mountain bike from Corsa when I lived in Pemberton, and it was a Norco Cat.
Wait. You bought it yourself?
Yeah. So my parents did a pretty cool thing. Like we got like I think it was $100 a month, and then any extra things that we wanted, we had to like kind of take care of ourselves. So you know, obviously they like fed us and clothed us, but like if we wanted to do something extra, then we kind of had to learn to like budget and save for it.
This is Sparta.
And then I had a job washing cop cars after school when I was like 10, and so that was kind of where I got my side cash from.
How much for a cop car?
I think it was $20 a car, and there was 4 cars, and I would do it like maybe every Friday or every second Friday.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was just a pretty sick gig.
Yeah.
And it's just funny, like, when I think about it now, because, like, at the time, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm, like, working or whatever. But, like, there's no way I was, like, doing a good job, like, cleaning these cars. Like, it's like a hose. First? Like, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Like, you know, like.
Pay up, sucker.
Yeah, exactly. Like, kind of my money now. Like, but at the time, I was, like, grinding, you know. But, like, I probably wasn't doing a very good job.
That's pretty good grinding, though, I have to say. And like your parents taught you, you know, the value of money, the value of work, you know, like the basic, you know, requirements and the give and go of it. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a good system.
And you have brothers and sisters?
I do, yeah. So I've got 2 older sisters and an older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all had the same thing, or was it just like?
I think so. They were quite a bit. They were like 8, 6, and 4 years older, and they were kind of like on the same thing, but they were working like.
So you're the baby.
I'm the youngest, yeah. Yeah.
So they probably had it way harder than you.
Oh, for sure.
They probably had to pay for the food and board.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I feel like we were living separate lives, you know? Like, when I was 10, my sister was like 18 and like already graduated. So it's like, our childhood, I feel like I have no idea what they were doing, you know? Like, whereas like now we're like, as an adult, you know, that like closes a bit and you're like more... You're like friends with them, whereas then you're just like, I don't know, like they're like 16. Who knows? Who
knows what they're doing? Yeah,
I'm still playing in the dirt. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So that was your first bicycle. What was your first mountain bike?
Like full suspension, I guess. I rode a hardtail for a long time because you know I heard you should ride a hardtail to develop your skills. So I think I was.
This is what you're thinking back then. You're like,
I don't know, like probably read it or like heard it somewhere. So I think I was like 16 or 17 when I got my first. 16 when I got my first full suspension, I guess maybe.
Okay.
And it was a Norco A-line.
Yep.
Because by that point we had moved to Squamish and I was working at Corsa, and then through Corsa I got on like the Norco grassroots like program kind of thing.
Yeah. And
so they helped me out, like, you know, you get discount on a bike and stuff. And so
were you racing by then? How come they were helping you out? Just because you were?
Yeah, I was doing some racing, some downhill racing and stuff like that. So I think my first race I did when I was like 14 or something.
BC Cup?
Yeah, in Penticton.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like a 4-cross there and stuff. And
did you do that too?
No, but I remember doing the downhill and I like forgot to pack shorts, and so I was like practicing in jeans, like on my hardtail and stuff. Like I only went because like my mom was like, "Oh, I want to go visit a friend." It was kind of weird, like, but then I did it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a racer," you know, like even though like the thought of doing a race before that hadn't even occurred to me. Yeah. But then I did one, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is me," and it was sick.
That's awesome. How did you do your first race?
Like crashed 1,000 times, and there's only 2 of us. There's like. Do you remember Catherine Short?
So you're on the podium.
Yeah. Always on the podium.
I remember Catherine Short, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just Catherine Short and I in the category. And yeah, she smoked me. I crashed like 1,000 times. And I think that was it, was because I was like, oh, I'm so much better than that. Like, but I didn't get to like, you know, the nerves got to me and I like blew it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what like got me all stoked to do more.
I don't think that ever goes away. Like
no.
I race, you know, at the Mount Baker Bank slalom, and I, you know, fudge one little turn, and I'm like, oh, I'm better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it never goes away.
Yeah.
You know, you want to
cool.
show what you got, and you know, you never have a perfect run, right?
No.
Like,
but yeah, you're just like, you want to slide all the
maybe
little,
like
like
Bruni
pieces
does,
into-
but you know, most of us don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So you went, I want to do more of this. So you did like a bunch of BC Cups then.
Yep. Yeah. So probably like 14 to 18, 17, I raced a bunch of BC Cup, some Canada Cup and stuff like that.
And how long did you have that monocoque A-line Norco?
Well, you know, because I was on the grassroots, you know, I was flipping them, you know,
Okay.
upgrading each year.
Yeah.
So I was on that grassroots program for maybe 3 years. And then, so actually at that BC Cup is when I met Shams March.
Yeah.
And then, so he started coaching me after that because he lived in Squamish as well.
It's a pretty good coach.
And yeah, really good coach.
Yeah.
And he was riding for Marin. Well, he was with Norco at that point and then moved to Marin. And
Yeah.
then I got a deal with Marin when I was like a junior for free bikes and stuff. So
Nice.
that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, BC Cup, like there was a lot more races, seems like, in the coast and on the
Yeah.
island and stuff. Then
For
now
sure.
it seems to be in the interior quite a bit now.
Yeah.
But
Like Bear Mountain, Hemlock, Ardoom.
right.
Like
Yeah.
Mount Washington.
Yeah. And they're pretty good turnouts back then.
Yeah, I remember them. I
People were into it.
was thinking about that. I'm like, is it because I was like a kid and everything was like awesome, or like I feel like there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I remember Bear Mountain being pretty big and like
Huge.
yeah.
Screaming fans and dragging couches into the woods. And,
yeah, at that big
noisemakers and-
rock and stuff.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Oh man. So that's cool. So, you know, you're racing, you're cutting your teeth, you know, you're getting faster and faster. You know, like who did you end up racing by the end of that? Like, was it Michaela and like
Yeah, so
Claire Bouchard and stuff?
Yeah, so it was honestly like Catherine Short and I all the time when we were younger. Because Michaela's 2 years older than me, and so she would be always in the category above.
Oh, so you didn't really race until you went pro?
Yeah, because like you don't really. As a junior, I raced up a couple times in pro because there was no other women.
Yeah.
And so I'd race, like Denise, Michaela, Claire, and like those ladies. But yeah, it was always kind of just like the same crew.
Yeah.
It's definitely not how it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you do your first Crankworx?
I have no idea.
Did it go well for you when you first hit Crankworx?
My first Crankworx, I don't know. Because I remember watching Crankworx when I was like,
Because
really...
you've won Crankworx events. You've won the Garbo.
Yeah.
You know, you've gotten podiums on the...
Yeah, 2009 is when I won Garbo, and maybe that was like... I've raced Crankworx before that, so I don't know when my first Crankworx would have been, but that's the first one I remember.
I can't remember all my wins.
Oh, no, because I probably hadn't won anything, but I remember that Crankworx because I was 19. And I won something, so that was like the best Crankworx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a lung buster that
Yeah.
race is, eh?
Yeah. I used to love that course, though.
Was it 13, 14 minutes?
Yeah, something like that. It's a big dog, though.
Yeah. But then you're crushed for the rest of the week, aren't you? When you go that hard?
You're 19.
You're 19, yeah.
You're
Nothing
fine.
crushes you. You partied all night.
Yeah. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you're tired the next day or whatever, but you'll come back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So when did you make a conscious effort to go pro and say, I want to do this? Like, I want to race World Cup.
Yeah, I feel probably, I guess, 2009. Like, 'cause that was my first year out of high school.
Yeah.
And I was kind of at a point where I didn't have the means to do both. Like, I couldn't go to university and race kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just like financially, I couldn't. And so I was like, well, I know for a fact that I want to ride my bike, but like university kind of will always be there. And like, I'd rather, if I'm going to spend, 20, 30 grand on something, I'd rather work and, spend that on biking. 'Cause that's like kind of a sure thing. And not a sure thing it'll work out, but it's like a sure thing that I want to do.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And I feel like going pro was never really like I don't know, it's like a funny word, I guess, in our industry. Like, what does that mean? Like, I was racing pro, but I wasn't pro, but
You were still at a job.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I was
get it.
never like, I'm going pro because I was already racing pro.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do more racing and get more experience and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I do. I'd work at Corsa all winter and then take off in the summer.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, that's pretty cool that they gave you the chance to do that and then have the flexibility to go do what you want.
That's huge because
Very
like
cool.
they kind of just like they didn't need me in the winter. It's like usually pretty slow. Not
Yeah.
anymore, but it used to be really slow in the winter, and they kind of just did that to help me.
Yeah. Peanut was still there in those days, wasn't he?
Well, that's Tantalus, but
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's Stanless. Yeah.
but Dave and Peanut and Al, like Dave Fewstone Corsa.
Yeah.
He's really good friends with like Peanut and Al from Tantalus and stuff.
Okay.
They all grew up in Squamish together.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
He was my cook tree planting for
Peanut was.
Yeah.
Really?
For many years. Super funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's super cool. And the pro thing is funny because like I went pro snowboarding in 91. I started racing professionally and I got like 7th on the US circuit the first year, but I didn't make money.
Yeah.
You know, for years.
Yeah.
But I raced pro.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
like, are you pro?
Are you a pro?
Yeah. Are you pro? Like what?
You're racing pro,
Yeah.
but are you professional?
Because I feel like in other sports, it does kind of mean that, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, other sports, sometimes you're making millions of dollars right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we're here working away and saving money
Yeah.
to race pro.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
I think that's why they call it elite, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
That's
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. So how long did it take until you did make some money? Like did it like
Well, I didn't get paid until I was 27.
Yeah.
So not that long ago. I'm 31 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slugging away and making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. At the time, it didn't like feel, you see other people making money and stuff, but I don't know. It's all at the end of the day, it's on you. Like it's up to you to make it happen. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get it unless you ask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I learned from Richie Schley is like they're not going to just call you up and say, I want to give you money. You
Yeah.
have to ask for them and then
You
barter
gotta
your services.
prove, you gotta prove it and like
Yeah.
be able to back up,
Yeah.
back it all up. So,
Yeah, totally. For me, it was more like full pages and double pages and movies and stuff. Those were my races.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you get like a cover, that's like winning a race,
Yeah.
And so some people would get coverage, but they wouldn't ever keep it.
Yeah.
And they had nothing
Need
to
to
show for it.
quantify, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have all your race results, you want to have them down on a resume, and same as exposure as a free rider,
Mhm.
you got to keep it. So they're not going to give it to you unless you talk them into it.
Yeah.
Kinda, right. Interesting. Oh, wow. So you've had coaching all along this way. I read last year that you were a couple years ago, you were coaching with someone that you went to school with, Joel Harwood
Yeah.
from Blueprint Racing. Do you
From
still train with him?
Not really. I occasionally go on like his skills days and stuff like that in the spring.
Yeah.
I was training with him for a few years up until maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago.
Because you had like Shams March, and who were some of your coaches?
So my very first coach was Katrina Strand when I was like.
I taught her to mountain
when I was
bike. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
So you taught Katrina.
Yeah,
and then she taught me.
Yeah. And her and Lisa Lefroy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went on a trip with Strand and Lisa Lefroy to Katrina's cabin when I was 12 or 13 with Nick and Xander Geddes, who were like 7 and 9.
Oh my God.
And it's just so funny, like thinking about that trip. It was, I feel like, Strand and Lefroy are pretty funny.
Yeah, super funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, just comedy. I got them introduced to Mirzoki, and I got them to be Mirzoki girls too.
Yeah.
I pulled those strings. I'm like, because like, what are these California Barbie girls? Like, get some girls who
like
ride.
Some
and they're like,
bikers.
That's a good idea. I'm like, dude, I got these 2 girls.
Yeah.
And so I pulled my little strings, and then all of a sudden that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Pulling strings. So coaching, racing professionally, coaching, and then, then you started like, winning like the Canadian Championship. How many times have you won the Canadians?
Just 3 times. I think.
Just 3 times.
I mean, I wish it was more, but it was 3 times.
Yeah. And how many close calls have you had?
A lot.
Yeah.
Been a lot of like 2nd and 3rds, but
yeah. Explain to me your mental side of how you deal with adversity. Like, you don't always win every race. You don't always have good runs sometimes. And, like they say, you never fail as long as you pick yourself back up, right? Or I've never failed. I've just learned 1,000 ways how not to do something.
Yeah.
But what do you do to pick yourself up and keep positive and keep surging and keep going for it?
I think it's like kind of the pursuit of it all, like what we all kind of already were talking about, like where it's very personal for me. I think like it's other people are like, oh, I don't want them to beat me, or I can't be second, where it's not so much like, I don't care if I'm 2nd or 3rd. I don't care what position I'm in as long as I did something that I'm like proud of, or like, I'm like, that was really good. It's like all those moments that you're like, oh, like, why did I do that? Or like, it's all like those kind of things where I know that I can do better. I don't know. It hasn't been that hard for me to like, just want to keep trying, I guess.
It's not about the result and how you stack up against other people. It's about that run.
Yeah.
You and the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Like obviously there's like moments where you're just like, oh, I wish I'd beat that person, but it's nothing to do with them really, you know. It's just what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
But like it's funny being teammates with Finn for those few years, like where he is like hyper competitive.
Yeah.
And like everything, it's like I remember we were playing like bridge or whatever that game is, and I was just like didn't know how to play, and I was just beating him, and he was just like dying, you know. And I was just like, dude, like it's just cards, you know, dude. Like it's not skill, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not really like that.
Yeah.
So I'm still competitive, but it's not as maybe outward. It's more within myself, like just against myself, I guess. I
have a funny story about Finn. I actually was doing some Crankworx pink bike interviews, and I went to the Specialized booth, and Loic was there, and Finn, and I bet them $20 that they couldn't bend down and pick this bill off the ground.
Oh, I saw that video.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so Loic bent over and picked up right away like this, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's your $20. I pull out another $20, and I go, Finn, you can have this $20 if you can pick it up with your mouth. The only rule is that you have to only have one foot on the ground, and that you can't touch a table or a wall or anything. And he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And he was so
dying,
mad.
I bet, yeah.
He was dying.
Yeah.
Because Loic just did it like that. I did it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm this like 50-year-old dude, and he's just,
yeah.
So that later that night, I'm surfing online, and I look on, I think it was Blanky's Instagram, and I can see him in the back.
Trying to do it.
It was 10:30 at night, and I could see him practicing in the background of the shot in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I just cracked up. I'm like, oh my God, he's practicing right now.
Yeah, that's him for sure.
Totally. Oh, that is funny.
And then he'll like be like, oh, do you want to see something cool? To like someone that doesn't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. With the mental side about, you know, dealing with yourself, I actually learned something from an ex-girlfriend of mine, Paula Spruce, when I was racing pro snowboarding on the GS circuit. And I was watching some of the other racers. I'm like, oh my God, they just killed that section. I have to go. I can't do that section that fast. I have to go faster. I gotta. She's like, stop, relax. You can't affect what they do. Don't think about them.
Yeah.
Don't even look at them. All you can do is do your own turns and worry about yourself. You only have so much energy. So use your energy on yourself because you can't affect them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And that totally changed everything I did, you know, for racing and competing and actually free riding too when you're like on camera and stuff. So you can't affect other people.
Yeah.
You can only affect yourself.
Exactly.
You know, so that's interesting that you say that. I'd like to hear that.
It's hard. Like, it's funny at like a national level race, you're just like, this is easy. You know, you're like, I'm the best. This is sick. And then you go to a World Cup, and then all of a sudden everything is 1,000 times harder. You know, like, it's just, and it's kind of that mentality. All of a sudden you're surrounded by the best, and you kind of get sucked into seeing what they're doing, and like fully comparing yourself to them. And yeah. For sure. I still struggle with that, like at World Cups or like an EWS or something like that.
You can't help it,
but you
right?
can't. Yeah, you can't help it, but it's not going to do you any good.
Well, not only for the competitive side, but also because you're a hardcore mountain biker and you're a fan as well as a competitor.
Yeah.
You dig the sport.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch people shred, you know? Like we go to, you know, we watch videos and watch other people shred, or in a race you're seeing, how are they going to handle that section? Oh, like that, you know? So it's kind of like, it's kind of a bit of a catch-22.
I always found that almost like hindered me because I was always like working so hard and like striving to like get to this level, this like World Cup level, that when I was there, I am just like a huge fan, but like I wouldn't put myself into the position, you know. I'd be like, oh wow, like Rachel Atherton or whatever, but like in reality I'm racing against her, you know, whereas like in my mind I'm just like, whoa, like she's pinned. And then you're like, wait, I'm like, I have to go compete against her. And it was like a very hard like mental adjustment for me to sort of believe that I was like at that level and like that's where I should be, because I've spent so much time like, you know, because I don't even know if I've ever raced a full World Cup season. And so like, you know, you're always just going to the ones that you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And so you just like roll in for one race and you're like, oh, holy shit. Like, look at that.
Yeah, right.
And then you're like in the start gate the next day and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Here we go. Come on. You want some of this?
Yeah.
So you haven't raced a full season just because of injuries?
Yeah, because of injuries, or before I was on teams, I just couldn't afford to
hit all the races.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to hit a full race and get all the points and like kind of roll the dice, because you're not always going to have clean runs. You know, it's just when you go that fast, you're going to, ping off rocks or get a flat or whatever. So
yeah, there's so many variables.
If you hit all the races, you have a better chance of getting those good results.
Yeah,
so
for sure. And just more experience, like at
right.
That's the biggest thing too, is going from national to World Cup is like the structure of the weekend. Yeah. Like you go to a national round here and you have like, I don't know, like 8 hours of practice or something. Like you have too much practice. Yeah. And then you go into World Cup where you have 3 hours or whatever. Yeah. And the tracks are way more difficult. Yeah. And so that's like a big adjustment too. So the more that you can like fine tune your process of doing that, the better you're gonna get. Yeah. So doing full seasons and stuff is really beneficial, right? If you can do it. Yeah,
because it's a set little formula of so many practice runs and
like how you prepare for your first run, you know, and like mentally get ready and stuff.
Are you a pinner or are you a builder?
I'm very much a builder. Yeah. I'm a pretty cautious rider, or calculated rider maybe. Like, like I don't know. First run, I'm not doing anything I don't know,
You're not winning practice on the first run. No. Yeah,
like,
just build it in.
Sometimes like Rob Venables is a good example of just like following him down a trail blind, and like he's just hitting like huge jumps blind, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and he's just fine. Whereas I'm like, I'm not into that. Yeah. Well,
you've been hurt and you don't want to be hurt, and so you have the skills to do it, but you want to know what's down there.
Yeah, exactly.
And just totally.
But it's funny how people have like, and I think that's probably a good quality to have for enduro.
Yeah. Is that
like first run send?
Right. Because you don't have any practice runs.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
one practice run, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So injuries, I know you've hurt your arm and you've had some wrist situations and you've got hardware in your wrist. And how's that feeling now? Like you've had them for a while now. Yeah. And you probably know how to stretch them and how to build them up, and you're dealing with that to incorporate to still go fast. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the things that's in your program that you've had to overcome. So how do they feel now?
Yeah, like I've definitely had a lot of injuries. Like I think I've had over 10 surgeries on maybe 11 or 12. I broke my legs a few times, things like that, knees, things like that. But yeah, my wrists I think have taken the biggest hit. And yeah, I don't know. They still hurt every day. They still ache, and I can do everything. It just, like say I get to like 20 push-ups and then my wrists are just being in that position, they're just cranked down. They don't like it, but I don't know.
Do you push up bars ever?
Yeah.
Do you do those bars?
Yeah.
Does that make it better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, so I had a surgery 2019 to remove a plate in my arm, unrelated to my wrist. It was a different injury, and that has made a huge difference in my ability to get better grip strength. It was a plate on my ulna that the first time I got it plated, my buddy Adam Mantle was like, "Oh, I've had the same surgery. You can just ride like as soon as it stops hurting." And so like 3 weeks after surgery, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go race this Norway World Cup." And so I was like racing 3 weeks after surgery, and it honestly didn't really hurt. And then I got home and I was like riding bike park, and I remember going down A-line, the fast, straight section at the end of A-line.
Right at the bottom?
Into that corner. I remember going down that and just having to take my one hand off the bar, because I was like, oh, my arm is just killing me. And so my plate had pulled off the bone. And so I had to have another surgery and all this stuff. And so they'd put a way bigger plate than what really you need, because I couldn't just put the same plate on, because where the holes were and stuff.
Oh my God.
And so it was way bigger. So then if I gripped something really tight or landed a drop, it was almost like I could feel my bone flex around the plate, kind of, because the plate was really stiff, but your bone isn't that stiff. And so once I got that removed, I felt like I could just grip things way better in the gym. I could it just wasn't as painful. And I think that has helped me strengthen my wrists.
Yeah.
Because I think that was actually just like limiting me in what I could do. Because I'd get crazy pains if I'd like grip something and then let go. And like it was kind of weird.
Oh, wow.
So I took that out 2019 and so 2 years. I feel like I've been able to train my grip strength a lot better, which I think was probably my weakest point after all those wrist injuries.
Yeah. Well, it's that time for the ride wrap crash of your life.
Crash of my life.
Whoa.
So many crashes of my life.
Where?
Everyone.
Yeah. What would you say was the podium winner, though?
The worst crash I've ever had? They're all at Fort William.
Oh, really?
All the worst crashes of my life are probably at Fort William.
Oh, my God.
Just because, like, you fall there and you're literally just falling on rocks. Like, there's no dirt or anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably, honestly, when I broke both my wrists, that was gross. There was, like, a road gap, but it was, like, you had to turn onto the wooden takeoff, and it was super muddy. And so I was, like, turning on, but because it was so muddy, I slid and just, like, slid off the side of it and just landed on the flat road below. And I kind of just, like, punched the ground with both my arms. At the time, I didn't even notice my arms. I had like this cut on my leg and I could like see something, you know, when it's like deep and you can like see something. I was like, oh God, like, I was like, oh, I don't want an infection. I was like, bone infections. And then I was like, oh man, my one arm was like totally disfigured. And then in the ambulance ride down, I was like, just cranking this one. I was like, oh, this one doesn't feel good either.
Oh my
God.
Yeah,
they were both broken and my leg was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
No bone infection.
Yeah,
I think I got one stitch in my shin.
Yeah, and that's what you originally thought.
And then like 3 surgeries on my arm.
Oh, nasty.
But yeah, that was probably the crash of my life.
Yeah. Nasty. Well,
you know what? Bike was fine though.
The bike was fine.
Bike was fine.
Yeah. Well, your bike will be fine if you use ride wrap protection.
It's true.
Do you wrap your bikes?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Was ride wrap?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. They do. It works amazing, doesn't it?
It's so nice. And honestly, like, I think I have one frame that I didn't, and it is like such a bummer. That I didn't get it wrapped, right, you know? And you're like, ugh.
I know.
It's so easy. I should have just wrapped it.
Totally. Yeah. Well, they'll do it for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so easy.
I'm sponsored.
Yeah. It's so easy.
So let's talk about when you won the World Championships. This was in Cairns, Australia, 2017. I remember watching, and you had a great run. Mm-hmm. And there was like, from what I remember, like a pretty heinous sprint in it.
Yeah, it was a fat sprint.
And you just buried yourself and just...
That was like the one thing I was like, yeah, I know I can sprint.
Yeah.
You know?
And did you ever?
Yeah.
And you buried it. And then you were in the hot seat for the long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had all the superstars of the sport come down, and everyone could not match your time. They'd either blow up or they couldn't do it. I think Miriam Nicole was within 1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
And then Tracy crashed and like
Tracy's run was crazy. She like almost won and she like KO'd herself.
She knocked herself out for a few seconds.
Yeah, that was nuts.
And then got up and still got third. So she was on a heater.
Yeah.
But hey, that's racing. She didn't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
You were fastest A to B.
Yeah.
And you won the freaking World Championships. What was that like?
It was crazy because obviously I did not think I was gonna win. And honestly, like, because Pom Pom, they kind of like messed her time up. Like, they use backup timing. So then you're like, well, is that her time? You know, there's always kind of like a little bit of a question there, but
because they put her 40 seconds back and she didn't crash or something.
Yeah, because she crossed the line and she was like so far back, and they're like, that's not right. So then they had to go to backup timing. But I mean, in my mind, like, I don't really care. Like, 'cause if I had gotten second at World Champs, I would have been just as insane as me winning, you know? Like, because up until that point, I think my best result at a World Cup was third, but never was it that competitive, you know? Like, it was third, but I was still, you know, I don't know, maybe like 5 seconds back from whoever.
Yeah.
So that was like probably my most competitive race run. And so I was stoked, but I like didn't really like, I was just like, oh, all right. Like, I'm not prepared to be a world champion.
Yeah. What, little old me
but
from BC?
But okay.
Yeah.
And that was really special when Loic won as well. And that was really cool.
And he won by 0.34 of a second.
Yeah.
And Nick Hanna was 5 seconds ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
And that was his home track.
Yeah.
And then I think Loic actually apologized for winning because he knew that, that was his last real shot at finally winning the Worlds. And then he was faster. That's
a Loic thing to do too.
Yeah.
That was cool. We actually went to the sprint, Kevin, Finn, and I. And with Jack, I think Jack was there, and we had like a board for Loic to see if he was up or down before going into the sprint or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we like wrote like the time on it or whatever, and like it was like a moto board or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it I guess he wanted to know or whatever, but it gave him that like extra little he knew he was close, and that was really cool.
I saw a thing that some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, check this out, Tippie," when I was cruising around doing videos at Sea Otter. And it was a pair of goggles that had a little red and green light in it. And it's set to the Wi-Fi. And at every split, you could see if you were up or down.
Well, crazy.
And I don't know if
what was this for?
For downhill racing. You just slip this little thing inside the bottom of your goggles, and then just tune it in to the Wi-Fi.
That'd be crazy.
At every split, if you're up, it's green. Or if you're down, it's red. And you could see where you were from split to split. Just quickly in the corner of your eye. I don't know if that would help or not.
Yeah, maybe.
But it was definitely pretty cool technology. And I was like, yeah, I'll put that. I used to do that show, Just the Tip.
Yeah.
And so I put it in Just the Tip. And I was like, I showed Finn and he's like, that's pretty cool. But I don't know if I ever chased it. But,
sometimes at Val d'Isle, they have like speakers on all the trees. You can like hear them. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like shit. Oh, not very good. or like, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
Way behind.
Wait, are you talking about me?
Yeah, wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Val d'Isle, that's a gnarly one, eh?
Yeah.
The Black Snake, I think it's called. Yeah.
I like Val d'Isle though. It's cool.
Is that some say it's the gnarliest?
I think so, because it's just so relentless. There isn't like a lot of the tracks, it's like gnarly, and then maybe you pop out onto like a fire road and you sprint or something, and that adds to it because it's another dynamic. But I think Val d'Isle is just top to bottom, like technical, yeah. And you just have to be so on it to
yeah. What's your best result at Mont Saint Anne? 5th?
Yeah, 5th.
Yeah,
a couple 5ths.
That's a relentless one too, though. But it does have sections of fast.
Yeah, exactly. Like still, like you're still pinned, but it's more like high speed under the lift or something, whereas maybe you don't have to be quite as on it as maybe Val d'Isle, but I really like Mont Saint Anne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard this rumor that they're trying to build a World Cup downhill in the Creekside Whistler?
Yeah.
And they're going to call it, like, I forget how many points he had, but Stevie's
it's like,
2013
it's like
points that he had.
Yeah. What is it?
What's the number?
I didn't know it was points. I was trying to figure out, because Wendy, like from the bike park, was like, "Oh, I'd be sick to have you film on
this number, which is the name of the trail."
It was like something 2111 or something, or something like that. And so I was trying to figure out if it was like Stevie's birthday. I was like, "What is that?" Because I knew it had something to do with Stevie, but then I was like, I couldn't figure out what it was.
Come on, nerds! If you mountain bike nerds, put it in the comments below. We want to know what the number is.
Tell us what the number is.
Someone will know. Some mountain bike nerd. Yeah, that would be sick. A World Cup downhill in Whistler?
I know. It's only been like,
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I better do it next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, man. So after you won the Worlds, they say there's the world champion curse.
Yeah.
Is it true?
I think it was like, so before I won world champs, I had torn my PCL and like bruised my femur and my tibia in Fort William. And so that season I'd missed races, like I couldn't race Fort William. I couldn't race Leo Gang. I think I tried to come back for 2 races and I just like couldn't ride very well.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, it was kind of like, okay, this is like, I was in a weird spot because I had like accomplished my dream of being on this World Cup team. Like that was the first team that I'd ever been on. And so Cairns was kind of like, it felt like it was like my goodbye sort of like, because I was like, well, there's no way I'm being like re-signed to be on like the best team in the world after this season, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like a weird spot where I was like, you know, this sucks, but like at least I got to do it kind of thing. And then I won. So then, I was like, well, I'm probably going to get re-signed for another year. And it wasn't like, it's just like, you know, you perform and you get to stay on. And I think, I mean, I can't speak for them, but I think Loic and Finn liked having me as a teammate, and Laurent always, you know, like would, you know, he was there for me for sure. But like the reality of it is you got to, you know, perform to be on these teams. And I hadn't really done that. And so I was kind of just like, oh, like this is my last one. And then I ended up having another year. And that year, yeah, it was weird because I felt like I didn't really deserve that like world championship title just with like the timing. Like there's a lot of people like saying stuff like that. And so you kind of start to believe it. And then you feel like a little bit of almost like, I just felt weird, you know, I was like in this jersey and people were like, oh, like, you know, like pom-pom should have won and all this stuff. You're like, yeah, but fuck. But then you still can't help but like listen to it.
Yeah.
And then you almost start to question your position on this like team. And so I was just kind of like in a weird spot. And then we had like a new bike and we had like all these different things. I had like a ligament issue in my wrist, and I just honestly like, it was like too much and I couldn't perform. I just like, I just like couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you still had like, you know, the chance to learn from Loic and obviously Finn is a buddy of yours, but still like a talented racer. And there's all these pressures and all these things that happened to you there. So was that the catalyst that made you decide to start doing more EWSs? Because you'd done a few already. Sure. And
I'd done a few. And
you did well. I think you got a 5th in France. And
I'd had a couple
good results,
good races. And it was always fun. And it was like a new challenge. I think like...
Because downhill has always been your thing.
Yeah, I love downhill. And it's still my favorite. Like, I definitely miss it. Yeah, it was hard being like... Because, you know, like Loic has a bad day and he's like... maybe like 6 or something.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like not qualifying or like, so but they were like so good to me. And so it wasn't anything there. It was just fully sort of like I just got in my own head and I couldn't like dig myself out. And so going to the next season, I was like, hey, I just like can't do that again. Like that just wasn't that fun. I need to do something totally different. Yeah. And so, I was like, well, I'll just try more enduro.
Take a little reset.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when did the Kona thing come about?
So that was 2019.
That was it, right? Then and there.
Because it was kind of like, I had Laurent kind of was like, well, sort of offer me a position to stay with the team. It might not have been like full. He's like, well, like they do, you know, you're more than welcome in our team again, but maybe it's not like a full role as a racer. Things like that. And I was like, well, I just want to try something different. So yeah.
And you want to be a racer. You're a racer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, DePal and I have been buddies for a long time. And so I was talking to him a bit and the Kona thing came about.
Yeah. And it was you and Connor, was it?
Yeah.
It was signed.
Yeah, Connor. And then Connor's girlfriend, Shelly, she races a bit as well.
Shelly Flood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Reese Werner.
Oh, Reese Werner.
Yeah.
He's like a rising star, eh?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Like he was always a cross-country guy.
Yeah, Reese was always like the up-and-coming, like, pinned kid from Squamish for XC.
Yeah.
And then, he's
like, I'm going to do this in gravity.
Yeah, then he swapped over to Enduro, and that's definitely, I think, where he shines. Because he's so talented, but he's got just, like, crazy fitness. So,
I think he's going to keep on getting faster, too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Every race, he's kind of, like, always had a little something, you know?
Yeah.
That's, like, kind of stopped him from being at the top. But
he's got that
I think
thing.
When it clicks,
I can do better than this. I know I can do better than this.
For sure.
That thing's happening to him right now.
No, Reese is really talented, so it's gonna be cool.
Yeah,
and he's just a mad dog. Like, yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, totally. So you jumped on was it the process?
Yeah.
134 was what was the original?
It was 153 that first year,
and now you're on a 170 mil.
Yeah, it's like I run in the shorter setting, so it's like just under 160.
Oh, okay.
Process X.
Yeah.
So it's got 2 different travel lengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read you're like on the black box program.
Yeah, I've got like the suspension and stuff from Evan and JC.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm necessarily good at it, but I definitely like fiddling and
Like giving the
tweaking.
feedback and
and tweaking, and I think that's one thing that Specialized I like learned a lot from was testing with them.
Yeah.
With Owens and stuff. That was like by far the coolest shit ever. Like I just want to go back and go to testing camps. That's like so fun. Like that was insane. You just go to all these cool places to ride, and you just ride all day, and you try all these different things.
Yeah.
And then you just like tell them what you feel.
Yeah.
It's sick.
And they're pretty intuitive in knowing, you know, of what you're saying and how you're saying it.
Exactly. I know how to like communicate it, but I wouldn't know how to fix it.
Right.
It's like, you know, I'd be like, this is what it's doing. This is how I'm feeling. But I then couldn't translate that into if that's compression, rebound, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
You know, like
I
just know what it's doing.
Yeah. And that's their job to translate that.
To figure it out.
Yeah. It's kind of like a weird symbiotic relationship that happens between athletes and tech guys.
Yeah. It's cool.
That is super cool. Wow. How do you set your bikes up? And roughly, do you like them slow? Do you like them stiff? Like what roughly what do you do to set your bikes up?
Usually, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard to explain, I guess, but I don't know. It's like 30% sag for my rear. And then what I learned this year, especially, is like I run them faster than I think I should for rebound.
Really?
Yeah.
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 Huh.
And I kind of came to that. I was using like Motion Instruments. And so it's like definitely skewed. Like the Motion Instruments guy is very much like down this path of like really fast rebound. And so I did like 18 laps of like BC Trail or whatever it is in Creekside.
Yeah. Double Black Diamond.
Over like 3 days or whatever with different shocks and just looking at like rebound speeds and how much travel I was using and things like that. And so I would say do 2 clicks faster and I'd be like, oh, like that was terrible. Like I hated that. But the data was saying it still wasn't fast enough. So then I'd do, 1 or 2 clicks more and then all of a sudden it was really good. Whereas if I didn't have that Motion Instruments, I would have just gone straight back to like my old settings.
Yeah.
So it kind of just taught me to keep pushing to one extreme to make sure, because like I'd always in the past be like, no, I don't like that, and then go back, whereas I had to go a little bit further for it to actually be good.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that just made sense.
No, I get it. Like, you got to push the parameters.
Yeah,
to
for
know
sure,
where
because
the
like
sweet spot
you
is.
kind of have a comfort zone, but then you don't know what's possible, I guess, if you don't try.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I noticed you're using hand cards now too.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. I want to get some. I want to try it.
Yeah, I like them.
Because I find sometimes I'll go like, let's say I do a Shokoten ride or something, and then there's a bunch of bushes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's activating my brake levers.
Yeah, they like hit your levers and stuff.
I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
what the hell?
For sure.
And like I've got hand guards on my dirt bike, and that doesn't have one on my dirt bike.
Yeah.
So I want them on my mountain bike.
Yeah, I do like them. They give you a placebo of being safer when,
Yeah.
like you ride through something kind of narrow and like usually you're kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the handguards, you're just like, I'm fine. Even though like, I don't know if they will help you. They've saved me a few times like in races and stuff, just like from stopping like your levers getting all mucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's cool.
I mean, people make fun of you for a bit, but then
whatever,
they'll catch on.
Yeah. You know what? I've seen us all like over the years. Front
and
suspension.
more people are running handguards now. And it's funny because I actually don't have my handguards on right now. But then like you go out and you like see more people with handguards on. And you're like, you were making fun of me like 6 months ago.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It all comes around. Everyone
Yeah.
comes around. I've seen it all. I've seen people make fun of people and be resistant to change, like front suspension, rear suspension, dropper posts.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I mean, it's fun to make
fenders.
fun of things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I just make fun of Richie Slay. Never gets
It's
old.
too easy,
Yeah. I noticed you run the same tires I do. You run an Assegai in the front.
Yeah.
And a DHR2 in the back.
DHR2 in
That's
the
my
back.
favorite combo.
Yeah.
And then a double down in the front casing, a Daniel casing in the back.
Most of the time, yeah. Because I'm mullet, so a lot of my rear tires are DH casing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're full mullet now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're doing, I saw one of the videos you guys did. You're doing testing mullet versus 29er front and back.
Yeah.
And you went mullet overall.
Yeah, I just like the mullet. I hit my butt a lot on my tire. I'm like pretty tall, but I think I ride low. And
your BB height's the same?
Yep. I have a flip chip. And so it's more or less exactly the same.
Well, more or less the same,
yeah. I feel like it puts me in a better, like a strong position to use my legs when I ride.
Yeah.
Like I can just like push into things a bit more.
Yeah.
And also change direction a little bit easier. And I think that's pretty key for me, like in Enduro, where you don't always remember where you're going.
Yeah.
When you have to make like last minute kind of quick little niggles.
Yeah.
But you do notice like rolling, bumpy, flatter stuff. You get hung up a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't. The 29er will always roll better probably, but I just like.
But you have to change direction sometimes.
Exactly.
And so why not be able to change direction better?
Yeah.
I mulleted out. I had actually two Capras exactly the same. I had the same parts, same everything, and I tried one where I tried 27.5 and I tried 29 and I liked the 29er better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned one into a 29 front, 27.5 back mullet, and one was 29 front and back. And then I preferred that one to that one. So I did all this testing.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't timing anything. I'm not a racer. I'm not fast by any means, but
the feeling is important.
I know that some double blacks up here in the dark side and stuff. And I'm like, I like the mullet.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one I like.
Yeah.
And I kind of know that now, but
yeah, after I did that video, because I was like, oh shit, 29er is pretty good. And then so I was like, okay, I'll ride my 29er a bit more. And we're on the shore here, and like there's like kind of like a double step. It was like on double D. There's like kind of that like double stepped rock face. Yeah. And I just go into my 29er and just like smoke my butt on my tire at like the top one and just get like pitched forward going to the second one. I was like, no. And then from then on, I was like, I'm just going back to the mullet.
Yeah.
Like
you know it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah. What bike did you do Brutus on, Poacher and Brutus on for that one video?
On my trail bike. Yeah, my Process X. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool little process. So you worked your way up.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Hit
cool.
Poacher, which is, pretty sizable gap in itself.
Yeah.
But not as big as Brutus.
Yeah, not as big, but probably more technical, like in the run-in and stuff like that.
There's the quick corner.
Yeah,
and
like a
little jumps and
kind
stuff.
of janky corner to a flat landing.
Brutus used to have a janky corner before.
I know.
Right-hander.
I know. I got lucky. It's easy now.
Well, it's not easy, but it's easier than it was.
Yeah, it's way easier to get speed now. They've cut that log out and stuff. Yeah.
So good for you, though. That's pretty massive.
Yeah. It was fun. I just felt like I was at a point where I think social media too, like it gets in your head and you like see all these people doing this awesome stuff and you're just like, I want to be awesome.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I just have to do something about it, like.
Well, be awesome then.
Like you can. I knew I was capable of doing these things. I just had got pretty like sucked into like I was trying so hard to be like fitter for Enduro and stuff that I was just focusing on like training and like getting better at cornering and like things like that.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I needed to spice it up a bit.
I need to hack something.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I need to do something that's scary.
Yeah.
That'll also make me feel good and like help me continue to take risks.
Right.
Yeah.
It totally works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in another podcast, I was talking about how I used to go out and to get my heart rate up and to be able to calm myself, I used to crawl to the outside of this bridge and there's a piece of cement about that wide. It's 300 feet in Kamloops across the Pearson Creek Bridge. And I would balance there and get in my snowboard tuck and I would go through the first races of the year in my head. And if you fall, you die. And your heart rate's going, and then I would just say like, and I would just biofeedback and calm my heart rate. And then when I got into the gate in the first World Cup of the year, I'd be like, and I would just calm myself out, and I totally did it. And
that's sick.
It's just the fact that I did that so many times worked, and then I was cracking the top 10 in the World Cup, and I was like,
that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, kind of a stupid little mental thing, but
are those tracks like? Could you like memorize all those tracks? Like, or is it the same kind of circuit?
Well, some of the mountains like are standbys, like they're classics.
Is this like slalom?
Yeah, with GS.
Okay, yeah.
So it's basically the same track, right?
Yeah.
Like roller, fall away left, and so. Yeah, it was just like a little mental thing, and whatever works, right?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Like, and as far as racing goes, you've got these moments where you have to perform. Free riding, I'd have shoots coming up, like a crank shoot or something back in the day, and I knew it was coming. So right before then, I would ramp up the bunch of gnarly stuff, so that when the shoot actually happened, I'd just done a bunch of gnarly stuff.
Yeah.
But if you do gnarly stuff all the way through, you might get hurt.
Yeah.
So I would like kind of just keep it, you know, kind of cruisy,
Yeah.
you know, and then just start ramping up the gnarly stuff right before it happened. And then you're ready, but you're not playing the odds all the way through.
Yeah.
Kind of like a game, you know, or
yeah.
Kind of like a thing though. But by doing Brutus, that opens up your parameters to hit big stuff. Not that you're gonna hit stuff like that in a race, but sometimes you do hit natural trail gaps and stuff. And if you got a big one in the bag like that and on lockdown, and you're that much better.
Yeah, and I think it just helped, like, maybe because I'm like older now, but just going through that process and like trying to remove just like emotion and stuff from it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can add emotion into like a lot, maybe for women too, like whereas like jumping always seems to be like a common like area of sort of fear. It's like you definitely inject a lot of emotion into like taking these risks, where like the risk can be broken down into like a series of steps that you just have to follow. Like but a lot of the time I was finding I was approaching it with a lot more emotion than like you need to, you know. You just need to go through the process of what you're doing on your bike, because that's how you're gonna do it. That's how you're gonna accomplish it.
That's how you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome that Remy like told you in.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have a cool relationship in that, you know, you're both pro riders, you're both fantastically skilled, but he's amazing. And so you're lucky to have
for sure
a boyfriend like that.
Yeah.
To ride and train with.
Yeah.
And, you know, a bunch of your friends, like you used to live with Lee Jackson.
Yeah, we still live with Lee.
Still a roommate. And he was a long time, you know, I saw him race downhill on the Canada Cup forever. And I think he's more, you know, endurance now.
Yeah.
Than downhill anymore.
Well, yeah. So he's like he works during the week, so he likes to maximize his weekend. So he's always like down for big rides or you know, whatever. I think he was snow camping last night.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then you guys are tight with McKay Vazina, and sometimes you go down to Thousand Oaks and train with him.
Yeah, for sure.
In California to get away from the snow and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you have these friends who are all super badass rippers.
Yeah.
Which ups your game.
For sure.
And you're in a unique position to have a boyfriend that's like a pro rider.
Yeah.
That's only to make you better.
I know. Like, it's really cool, yeah. And I find Remy and McKay, like you said, there are certain people who I just like really trust too. There's other people who I'm like equally as good friends with, but I don't trust them to like
follow them in the speed
to like tote me into something.
Yeah.
So like McKay, Remy, actually Curtis Keene was always one for me, like growing up, like at like national races, like in the States and stuff. Like I always trusted Curtis to like tow me into like a big jump or something. Like I feel like he was just aware of what I had to do. Whereas like some people you follow and they're just like,
just do it, it's easy.
They go and they're like going slow, then they just like pop and yank like way harder than I can or whatever, you know? And you're like, well, how was I supposed to do that? Like,
yeah, right.
Whereas they, I think, understood like how I would like
where you're coming from and incorporate that into their approach to tow you in properly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just something I've kind of figured out over the years, I guess, with spending time with all these people. Yeah.
Who to follow and who
yeah,
not to.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember following Vanderham in northern Italy in Garda. Super rocky, super chunky, and we were on a group ride. So he was taking it. I can't keep up to him, you know, on the best of days, you know, not for very long, anyways. But I was keeping up to him. Yeah. We're just a group ride, and I'm like, oh, I feel cool, you know.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, this is cool. I'm riding with Vanderham.
Yeah.
Woo. And then he pops over some rocks. I pop over some rocks. I'm like, oh, that was a bit zesty, but no problem. Oh, and then he pops over some other rocks. I'm like, hey, I'm ripping. I'm ripping. Someone take my picture.
I'm doing it.
And then he pops over this other little gap, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I pop with him, like just like I just did the last couple times.
Yeah. And
then I realize that it's a sizable gap, and we're gonna clear a rock about 2/3 the size of a washing machine. And I'm like, I'm going to commit it. I'm in the air. I'm like, oh my God. And I just tapped it with my back end, and it dropped my front end, and I landed and I rode it out through all these big chunky rocks the size of watermelons everywhere, but sharp and edgy.
Yeah.
And he's like, dancing down the trail. And I'm like,
yeah,
that was so close.
Yeah. Something you can only do once.
Yeah, right. I couldn't do that, but I did because I just did it before I realized I was doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, thank God. Well, Wade's like that too. Wade's like, yeah, just do it. You know, he's like, just do it. Like, I got to break this down in my head. You just do it. And he goes, well, I will just do it. Well, you just did it. I know. Okay. God damn it.
I don't know. Just pull up.
Yeah.
Spike at it.
Right.
Yeah.
But some people have a knack for knowing where your skills are it's almost like an innate built-in coaching
Yeah.
side of them to their riding to help you out to clear stuff. Like, and Curtis Keene did that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Curtis was always good for that.
Back in the day. Well, that's cool. Wow. Well, that's a pretty good collection of friends. You've surrounded yourself with, like, you know, people that you like, that are people that also rip, and that's only going to make you faster. And obviously, it's working for you.
Yeah. It's fun. I feel like I'm getting better every year, and yeah.
You're psyched for this season?
I am. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty different. Like, I don't think I'm really doing that much racing, but it's gonna be cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna switch it up a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's time to, like, use my brain more. Just try some different, like, I just want to broaden my experiences a bit, I think. Like, try a bunch of different things. Like, every summer, you know, I've never been the Chilcotins before. And it's like, I grew up here. But, like, I'm not home in the summer, you know.
You're always racing.
I have maybe a window of 1 to 2 weeks where I'm home and I can go to the Chilcotins. And, like, this year I was, like, just so tired. Remy went, but I was like, Remy and Jesse and Lee went, and I was just so cooked. And I was like, I can't do it. Like, I gotta, like, I think I was going to Dark Horse and then flying from Dark Horse straight to France. And so I was just like, I just, like, don't have the energy to do this, like, you know, like, multi-day like, trip or whatever. So
riding with the grizzly bears.
Yeah, exactly. So I've always said, like, I'll just do that next season. And, like, I've been saying that for, like, 10 years. So I want to kind of switch it up a bit and do more things.
I hope you're going to continue with the MGM alternative videos and stuff that you guys are doing.
Yeah, we will for sure. We've definitely
great little video series.
Taken a break, but we're going to start filming again and trying to do the same thing, is backlog them so then we can launch them throughout the summer. Yeah. And then just focus on whatever we're doing. So I'm personally going to try and do, I'm going to do a 5-episode series of my own. Yeah. Working with filmer Graham Michael John. I don't know if you've worked with Graham. He works for Rod Rap. Okay. Does a lot of their stuff. Yeah. And so that's going to be really cool. I'm going to try and do sort of 5 episodes more about, like, the experience of something, maybe like the experience of racing, kind of like away from the performance side of racing. Yeah. And maybe just, do some crazy gravel.
What races are you going to hit?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because Kona isn't racing anymore. Like, they don't have a race team. And so I was kind of at, like, a point where I could maybe go try and find another team where I could keep doing these races. But
or go free riding.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is, like, I feel like because I've spent so long trying to go fast that I don't have, like, style. You know, like, my style is just having good form. Yeah. You know, like, I don't have any, like, you look at these other riders, like, I don't know, like Vero or like Casey or like Cade or Chaos or something. They have such sick style, but it's like I've never taken the time to, like, try and develop any sort of style. I'm purely like, okay, how do I ride through this corner as fast as I can? Yeah. Or, like, make my body position the best. So optimal. Optimize this so I like optimize that. Yeah, you know, like, and so it's gonna be cool to try and sort of broaden my.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
So I'm gonna race Scotland EWS for sure. I want to maybe do, like, a Enduro race, like a gravel race. Yeah. I'm not, like, any sort of, like, fitness person, but I enjoy it. So I want to do some crazy ride that I don't even want to say because it's, like, scary, but I want to, like, try it. Yeah. You know, like, I don't know.
Open your world.
Yeah, I just want to do things that are scary and different. Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you.
And meet new people and go to new places and stuff.
But still spend time on your bike.
Exactly, yeah. So I hope to still kind of hit some racing. I'm just flying, like, pretty loose right now, so I don't know. Yeah. I have until June planned, and then I'll figure out the rest. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We're almost to the end of this podcast, but I'm going to ask you some random questions. Okay. I've never done this before. Yeah, I like it. So I'm just pulling up these random questions. I don't even know which one to ask you. So just say when.
Okay, go.
Okay. Number 3. If you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Ooh, easy. Don't take everything so seriously. I was very serious. Yeah. Whereas it just made it less fun.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If you could take 3 things to a desert island, what would they be?
Shit. Am I including like food and water in this?
No.
Or? No? Okay.
Yeah, it's smart though.
Like priorities.
Yeah.
3 things.
Besides food and water.
Besides food and water. A big blank like sketchbook.
Okay.
And then a pencil, I guess, to go with the sketchbook.
Okay.
So that's 2. Or maybe that's 1. I'm gonna say that's 1.
That's 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A frying pan. I don't know if I want to cook. I guess I could use rocks. Scratch the frying pan. So I got a sketchbook, something to listen, music. I just need music and a sketchbook, and I'll cook on the rocks, you know?
Okay. All right. Next
I don't
question.
know.
If you could listen to only one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I don't know. I like a lot of different music. I don't know. That's
I'll tell you mine.
What's yours?
I've had AC/DC Back in Black in my truck stuck
really?
forever.
It's stuck in the
it's
thing.
It's stuck in there. Well, it's not, but it is.
But it pretty much is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not like. I think what I like about music is the variety. You know, like I like that you can just go and listen to like anything.
You'd have like a best hits?
Yeah, I guess.
If that was the best one album?
One album. I don't know.
I don't make the questions here.
I know.
Just really...
That one's just too hard. Okay. Ask me a different one.
When's the last time you did something for the first time?
We rode our bikes from Austin, Texas to New Orleans.
What?
Like in November. That was sick.
Oh, okay, November, so it wasn't super hot. No, it's probably still hot.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was perfect. It was like
it?
just t-shirts.
Yeah.
That was my first like bike packing. We stayed in hotels, but like, you know, just point to point. And I had like Texan barbecue for the first time. And I had like Louisiana fried chicken for the first. I had a lot of firsts on that trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, a month ago.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay, last question. Complete the sentence. I wish everyone could
ride a bike.
Aw.
I know.
That's so nice.
It's so nice.
but it's true, right?
It is true.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to do more of these. I like these random,
fun, yeah.
weird questions.
Pressure's off you, too. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to make it up.
Yeah, exactly. It's not my
It's not
deal.
me.
Yeah, it's not me, it's them. Okay, now it's a custom that the guest on the Tippie podcast tells one cheesy dad joke or any kind of joke, as long as it's not super dirty.
Yeah.
But just like a random joke. You got a joke for us?
Yeah, I wrote one down that I pulled off the internet.
Okay.
That I made up myself before coming. Where do boats go when they're sick?
Where do boats go when they're sick? I don't know.
To the dock.
Of course they do.
Funny, right?
Hey, the cheesier the better.
But it's funny because I actually chose that one because I read it and I didn't get it at first. And then I was like, what? Oh. And I was like, oh, yeah.
That's even funnier.
And I was like, okay, I'll do this one.
Yeah.
I'm a big dumb idiot.
Oh, my God. You know, my neighbor started building sailboats, started a new business building sailboats in his garage. Sales are going through the roof.
I was like, for a moment, I thought maybe this was like a real story. But
no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You're on the Tippie podcast.
Yeah.
Oh.
Should have known.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Thanks for coming with the joke. Thanks for sharing your passion and your experiences with us.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I've always been proud to call you a friend, and nice to see you shredding and looking for something new and expanding your world. So keep on shredding.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You too.
Right on.
Next.
The one and only Miranda Miller here on the Tippie podcast. Ow! Look at that camera. Look at that camera. Look at that camera. This camera. I don't know. There we go.
I'm gonna stare in the middle.
Yeah. Split the difference. Awesome. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, thank you.